The Center for Policy Research and Strategic Studies CepRass conducted an opinion poll survey to gauge public opinion on the upcoming local government elections of mayors and chairpersons. CepRass, a research and consultancy unit, was launched in 2016 by a team of faculty members at the University of the Gambia. The center uses cutting edge interdisciplinary research methods that combine qualitative and quantitative approaches to address critical socio-economic, development, political, and governance issues. Speaking at the event, Dr. Mustafa Jabade, research fellow at CepRass, explains the methodology they use in gauging opinions.
The method we use in conducting this OP, like I said, is robust. I'll take you through the steps. We do a sampling because you cannot ask, every other potential voter in the Gambia what their views are. So you have to extract a sample from the population. So we did a sampling, and then we designed a questionnaire. The questionnaire would be the set of questions that you're going to ask the potential voters. And then we did a data collection exercise, and finally we analyzed what we collected. So the sampling, you have a frame. When you do a sampling, you have a specific population that you choose your sample from. So to make it representative, we resorted to the Integrated Household Survey 2018. That's what we use as a frame. It's the most recent that is available out there. Okay, it has 14,191 households. So in that, and that is across all the LGAs in the country, across all LGAs, 8 LGAs, and 48 districts in the country. So what we followed is a multi-stage sampling process, wherein in the first stage, we tried to stratify the districts. We sampled from the 48 districts. So we had like 34, districts that we sampled from. Now from these 34 districts, in the second stage, then we chose the number of households. We sampled the households from these 34 districts. That culminated into 1,280 households, 1,280 households. And these households are the unit of analysis. And these are the ones that we have interviewed, right? And these households have their telephone numbers, okay, within the frame, and they were called. I'll explain to you in the data collection exercise. So it was distributed, across all the districts that we have chosen, and the number of households that we choose, or the number of households we choose from each district, depends on the proportion. The proportion of the district, the number of households we choose from each LGA depends on the number of districts within there. So it's a proportional multi-stage sampling process.
Dr. Jawade further stated that their survey reveals that in Banjul, Rahim Malik Low, the incumbent mayor, is likely to win this seat.
Then we asked the question that all of you want to know, people's intention to vote. So, and it's always important that we know as journalists and the public knows that we ask people, what is your intention? Who do you intend to vote for? Okay? So those who decide to tell us who they intend to vote for, then we analyze. Then there are those that say, no, I am not decided yet. Okay, there are those that say that I prefer to keep it secret, right? But there are those that will tell you, I intend to vote for X, I intend to vote for Y. So that data we analyze. So we find that in Banjul, on the scale of intention to vote, we find that more than half of the respondents, decided to, have not decided who to vote for or prefer to keep it secret, which is significant. Okay, more than half of the respondents, 52% of them, are either not decided or they prefer to keep it secret. Then of the remaining 48%, we find that 26%, the majority, intend to vote for UDP's Rahim Malik Low, Rahiyatu Low, and 23% intends to vote for Ibu Fai, right? Then there is another question on the likely to win. But we must understand the difference between these two. One is your intention to vote. This is your decision. This is what you intend to do as an individual, as a potential voter, right? So this is your decision. It is robust, right? Then the likely to win, we ask you of your perception. So that depends on what you know about the entire process, about the campaign and all of this. So that's your own prediction, not your decision. That's your own prediction of who is going to win, right? But in most of the cases, you will see that the two are highly correlated. On the likely to win scale, we find that 61% of the voters say they can't tell who is going to win Banjul, 61, which is more than half. Okay, so they can't tell who is going to win in Banjul. But then those that tell us who they think is going to win, 26% believe that Rohi is going to win, Rohi Tulo, and then the runner-up Igbo Fai, 14% thinks that Igbo Fai is going to win. So you would see on both scale, Rohi Tulo is leading, but then because there's a very high percentage of undecided voters, or those that prefer to keep their votes secret, we cannot predict the outcome of what is going to happen there. It all depends on what happened to where that group sways to, right? And that is very important, as an important takeaway that okay?
In the Brikama administrative area, Dr. Jabate said their survey reveals that the United Democratic Party's Yankuba Dabo is likely to win despite the National People's Party's CDCC leading in the intention to vote for among the people they engage.
And in Brikama, which is the largest LGA in Brikama, there the proportion of undecided voters, or those that prefer to keep it secret, is also large, 48%. It is up to 48%, right? But of the remaining that decided to tell us who they decide to vote for, CDCC leads with 21%, and Yankuba Dabo of UDP is the runner-up at 19%. Then the independent candidates, Ahmed Jite and the others, Jenaba and others, do not pull more than 5%, right? Put together, okay? So the difference between the two is like, a 2 percentage point. In the sampling process, I did not say this. In sampling, you have to have an allowance for error. And the allowance for error that we had is plus minus 3%. So when we say, for example, 21% intends to vote for, say, CDCC in Brikama, it means that they're about plus minus 3. So it's within that, ranges, right? You'll find that. So taking that into account, the gap between the two, between CD and Yankuba on intention to vote is not significant. It's less than the error of margin. Okay, so they're about the same area. On the likely to win, 42% say they can't tell who is going to win in Brikama, which is also large, But the remaining, we find that 23% thinks that Yankuba is going to win, the UDP candidate, and only 22% thinks that CD is going to win. So you see that on the intention to vote, CD leads by a small margin. On the likely to win, Yankuba leads by a small margin. So what that tells you is that perhaps even some of the NPP supporters that intend to vote for CD thinks that Yankuba would win. That's how you can explain this, okay? Even of those who decide to vote for CD, the NPP candidate, some of them thinks that Yankuba is going to win. So one is the decision, one is the perception of the respondents. Yeah, but because also, here, I will make it clear, because we have a very high percentage of undecided voters, 48%, we cannot come out categorically and predict the outcome. in Brikama. It all depends on where that undecided voters would decide to vote. Who's going to win them over? Depends on who's going to win them over, because the gap between the two is very slim.
In the Basse Administrative Area and Jang Bureh Area Council, CepRass reveals that NPP candidates are likely to win.
In Brikama. Then um, in Basse we have a very low, it has the lowest proportion of undecided voters in Basse. In fact, we have 55% of the respondents intend to vote for NPP's Mohamedou Cissé. More than half of them intend to vote for Mohamedou Cissé. And the runner-up, the incumbent Danso, only polls 19%. So you see the gap is very wide. And the only 19%, have only 19% of the voters that have not decided or prefer to be secretive about it. So because the gap is too wide, even if all of them decided to vote for Danjo, even if they all, Mohammed is still ahead of it. So in Basse, we are predicting that Mohamedou Cissé of NPP wins, will win that the Basse. It has a very low percentage of undecided voters. So Basse is gray, Basse is NPP, okay? Yeah, so you would see later that we try to help you to understand this by putting this in colors, and you would see that shortly. So as you can see that, sorry, let me, on the likely to win, that was what I said was the intention to vote, but on the likely to win, it mirrors that same outcome, because we've seen that about 63% of the voters think that NPP's candidate is going to win in Basse, okay, which is significantly high, right? So you can see the charts. The bars are too high. The gap between the bars is enormous, right? Yeah, so in Jang Bureh, that is the CRR North, on the intention to vote, we have 41% intending to vote for NPP Suleiman Sawani, while UDP's Malik Sow follows at 19%. So you see a large gap, okay? And the total percentage of undecided voters here is 38%. It's 38%, right? So on the likely to win, Suleiman also leads, Suleiman Sawani leads as the winner with 62%. So you have more people thinking that he's going to win than decide to vote for him. So that's how you explain that maybe even some of the UDP candidates who intend to vote for UDP's Malik Sow thinks that Suleiman is going to win Jang Bureh. So because the percentage of undecided voters in Jang Bureh is less than 40%, okay? So we decided to predict that, okay? Though with a less certainty than in Basse, which has a very low percentage of undecided voters, right? So even on the likely to win, Suleiman is ahead at 62%, okay? So because it is less than this, we predict that in Jang Bureh, NPP is going to win, though with a less degree of certainty than in Basse.
In the Kerewan Administrative Area and Kuntaur Area Council, CepRass also reveals that NPP candidates are likely winners of those seats.
Yeah, so in Kerewan LGA, we have NPP's Papa Tunkara. Papa Tunkara leads on intention to vote with 37%, okay, followed by Malamin Bojang of UDP. However, about 35% of the voters are undecided, or they are keeping it secret, okay, while other candidates do not poll more than 4%, okay? Unlikely to win also Papa leads, okay, at 37%, okay? And if you look at the percentage of the undecided voters, it's also it's not large. It's like 35%, If you round it up, it was 34.6, you round it up to 35%. So Malamin is at 22% on intention to vote, while Papa Tunkara is at 37%. So because we have the degree of uncertainty is less than 0.4, so we decided to predict Kerewan as well, that NPP is going to win, though, like I said, with a less degree of certainty than in Basse, okay? Yeah, so it's just at 35%. So you can see the charts. About 37% says Tunkara is likely to win, but about 35 say they can't tell who's going to win. On intention to vote, you see I think it's 37% here on intention to vote, and undecided and decided voters is like 35%, right? So with a less degree of certainty, we predict that NPP wins Kerewan as well. Then in Kuntaur, I'm moving, up and down, alphabetic order, right? In Kuntaur, which is on the South Bank, the CRR South Bank, on intention to vote, NPP leads as well at 38%, followed by UDP's Alhaji Silla, 21%. Unlikely to win, Sehu Jawara, the candidate for NPP, is also ahead at 35%, okay, and UDP's Alhaji Silla is behind at 21%. Okay, if we take a look at, in Kuntaur, if you take a look at the amount of undecided voters, it is significant, right? It is significant. And those that say they cannot tell is about 42%. Okay, the percentage of undecided voters in Kuntaur, it's like 41%, right? So because it's above 40%, we cannot predict the outcome of Kuntaur. There's a large undecided voters. Okay, however, of those that intend to tell, that decided to tell us where they're going to vote, we see that NPP leads. Okay, but we're not predicting the outcome because it will depend on who wins over the undecided voters, right, in Kuntaur.
In Mansa Konko and Kanifing administrative areas, CepRass reveals that UDP candidates are likely winners of those seats.
Then in Mansa Konko, UDP's London Sane leads on intention to vote at 32%. Keba Dem follows closely at 28%. However, 40% are undecided, or they've decided to keep it secret. So they have to battle this group. Okay, so that's why we are not predicting who comes or who is going to be the winner of Mansa Konko. They'll have to battle this category of voters. And even unlikely to win, you find that London leads. London leads at 35%, NPP follows at 28%, just the same as what we see there, but yet we have a large percentage that say they cannot predict it. So the same thing holds for Mansa Konko. You can see the bars, they are very close to each other. Okay, the bars are not very far from each other in Mansa Konko. So the gap is not wide, and there's a large percentage of undecided voters, right? Then you come to Kanifing, where we are now. On the intention to vote, Kanifing, like Basse, is one of the LGAs that is clearly, the outcome is clearly known, you can say. On the intention to vote, UDP's Bensouda, Talib Bensouda, has more than half, okay? Like half of the respondents intend to vote for Talib Bensouda. Bakari Baji, the NPP candidate, has has only, the gap is 28 percentage point, so he has like 19, it should be 19%, like, I gotta confirm that for you. Bakari is at 22%, right? Yeah, Bakari is at 22%, while Talib is at 50%. Now, what is the percentage of undecided voters in Kanifing? It's just 27%. Okay, so because the gap between the two is like 28 percentage points, and the undecided voters are only 27%. Even if Bakari gets the 27%, still Talib is ahead, right? So that is one of the areas that we are clearly predicting that UDP is going to win in Kanifing. And even if you look at the likely to win in Kanifing, Bensouda leads at 55%, meaning perhaps even some other non-Bensouda supporters think that Bensouda is going to win, but that gap between the 50 and the 55%. So that's an area that we're predicting that Bensouda is
CepRass survey further reveals that 61% of their respondents believe that candidates were treated fairly during the nomination process. Only 6.4% of their respondents expressed disagreement that all candidates were treated fairly. A considerable portion, 33%, reported that they did not know whether all the candidates were treated fairly or not. Reporting for Kerr, Fatou, I am Landin Cisse.